So this one is it's about the company Nothing, and I think his name is Carl Pei, who used to be like the owner or CEO. He was involved somehow at some major leadership. In fact, I think he might have been the founder, one of the founders of OnePlus. And whatever happened, he ended up going and starting his own company. And now he has a phone called the company called Nothing, and now they're making a phone called the Nothing Phone. They already have some earbuds out, which the allure to those ones are that they're transparent and the internals have been constructed a particular way to kind of make it look cool that you can now see what's inside of your device. As you can already see right there, that's kind of where this is going with the phone. Um, I I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I definitely watch a lot of Marquez's videos, so this is just another one that pops up in my feed, and I have no intention of buying this phone. Um, but hey, it's nice to know that it exists. So let's hear his thoughts, and then you'll hear my thoughts about his thoughts and the phone itself. And yeah, we'll see how long this one actually ends up being.
Hey, what's up? I'm KBHD here, and yes, this is the Nothing phone. The first phone from the startup that gave us the Nothing Ear One earbuds in 2021. A big step into establishing their own ecosystem that they're building, and it looks familiar, but also very different.
So yeah, I'll be honest. It looks like an iPhone 13. Actually, no, it looks like an iPhone 12, and they probably, who knows when they formally started the design process. But the cameras on the 12 series are stacked on top of each other, while the cameras on the 13 are diagonal. Also, it kind of looks like what the Galaxies now look like, which also, oh, not including the camera. In fact, let me pick this little guy up and take a look at the back. Yeah, so definitely the camera setup is different, but you know, I've already watched this video once, and Marquez definitely brings up good points. Where at the end of the day, what are the majority of smartphones? They're rectangular in shape, and they have some buttons, a port, speaker grills, and the main differentiator, I suppose now at this point, is camera layout and camera placement. So, like I said, the cameras on this Nothing phone look like that of the iPhone 12. The iPhone 13 has adjusted their camera placement on the back to differentiate between the 12 and the 13s, I guess, visually. But all in all, you can only do so much until you start getting into the folding phone realm, which now does exist. Well, folding smartphone realm. So let's see what else he has to say.
So we live in an age right now where so many of the top phones, the most popular phones, are designed to appeal to the masses. That's the point of them. And so they all end up kind of looking basically the same, all very similar. Big screen up on the front, a couple cameras on the back, a couple pale colors, nothing too crazy, just a glass slab. So if a startup were to come along
And yeah, as he said that, and as I've thought, like, well, what else could there
and
actually be?
make another.
Whoop. What else could there actually be? Hopefully that didn't happen again. Um, but yeah, it just seems like I don't want to say we've hit a plateau, because yeah, that's where the folding phones are coming in. But I feel like those folding phones are for specific people. I have a Microsoft Surface Duo. I only use this literally to read and to watch YouTube and TV shows. I do not carry this with me. Like, having to unfold the phone in 2022, even though we used to do it with flip phones, but having to unfold the phone to actually use it is something I have literally no interest in doing. Also, it's heavy. I mean, it's like carrying two phones in your pocket almost. But with the Z Fold and the Z Flip and the Motorola Razor, they're definitely trying to make strides to make it so that it's more pocketable, and I guess easier to use, however you want to define that. But yeah, he's right. Phones are phones, and there's only so much we can do to differentiate them.
Average phone, it would probably fit in pretty nice, but there wouldn't really be any reason to switch to it to buy that one. So what Nothing has done is they
But also, brand lock-in is real. People say, "Oh, I've always gone with Samsung, so I'm gonna stick with Samsung." I've always gone with Apple, so I'm going to stick with Apple. And as he mentioned earlier, Nothing is attempting to develop an ecosystem, which, depending on who you ask, could be a good or a bad thing. The idea of an ecosystem when it comes to what's revolving around your smartphone can be good, but it's also limiting, and it sucks where when that happens, things aren't as interoperable as they should. So, case in point, some people might like the iPhone, but then they might hate the Apple Watch. However, the Apple Watch has more access to the iPhone than any other smartwatch would. So if you have a Fitbit, or if a Galaxy Watch worked with it, which I don't even think it does, then yeah, you're going to miss out on functionality because Apple has said, hey, we want our companion device, our Apple Watch, to be the best it can possibly be. And somehow that also means locking other manufacturers of smartwatches out of whatever access the Apple Watch has. And Samsung is doing the same thing. Samsung's Galaxy Watch 4 is an Android watch and does work with Android phones, but it works best with with Samsung phones. So these ideas of ecosystems, again, like it's cool, and I understand why a company would want to do it, and I understand even if these companies did open up their platforms to allow other companies in, the experience probably still would be better if you used all Apple devices or all Samsung devices. But the way that they're implementing it definitely is more of a, we're going to control everything, push other things out, and then that way encourage you to give us more money. So will OnePlus, I keep saying OnePlus, will nothing do the same thing? We'll find out.
They've made a pretty unique looking phone that also happens to have a bunch of cool features surrounding that unique look. I think it's pretty sick. Now, this phone isn't out yet, FYI. It's coming around July 12th, so definitely get subscribed to make sure you see the full review of the entire phone and everything about it when it does come out. But until then, what I am allowed to show you now is the back of the phone. So the Ear 1 earbuds that came from them last year played off of this transparency theme. Not fully transparent, but definitely with some clear plastic bits that look cool and then reveal some shielding inside that's strategically placed and painted to look sweet. That's kind of the look this phone also has going on too, but the way that really stands out is with these lights on the back. So the phone has what I would basically call the ultimate notification LED. So the notification LED on the back of a phone has been a dying breed lately. You don't see them very much.
Now, what I will say, and I'll interject simply because one of the videos I made a couple weeks ago, really, I think it was 2 days ago, but who knows when a person would actually watch it, is Marquez did a video on the ultimate enthusiast phone, which was the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III. And one thing that Sony has kept around with their smartphones are a notification LED. And it's just a simple one on the front, a single one on the front of the phone, right above the display. And when he was going through, the things that he mentioned, and he brought up the notification LED, he says, "Oh, that's something enthusiasts would like." So I would think that if Sony's phone has one notification LED, and this phone, which you'll see momentarily, has, I think, like 200 something of them, and when they're combined, it just looks like straight lines of line. I think you would also call this an enthusiast phone, but I don't. Yeah, but he doesn't. So not any shade or anything, but just stating the fact that, well, if it's just a nice feature to have, which was one of the points that I was making in my rebuttal response interjection, is that, hey, it's just a nice feature to have because you don't want to have to always pick your phone up when you think it might have rang or whatever. You just, hey, my phone is down. For the Sony, the phone has to be face up for you to see the notification, but for this Nothing device, the phone can be face down. And then, yeah, you can probably assign it different colors, or the apps themselves assign it different colors. I don't know. And you just learn what the colors mean. But I think with this Nothing phone, you might actually be able to customize some stuff. But the whole point of me even saying something right now is that I guess it's a matter of equality or equity when putting names or using words to describe certain things. So if an LED on a Sony Xperia is an enthusiast feature and it's just a single one, I'd figure if you have light bars made of LEDs that are used for notification purposes on this particular phone, it would also be considered an enthusiast feature.
But when you do, which is rare, it's so nice to just have like a subtle little glowing LED that just tells you what's going on. You can tell if you have a new phone call or text message or a new tweet. And this is a sort of a exaggerated all-out version of that. So there are just over 900 LEDs making up a pattern
So I was wrong. I said 200. Yeah, 900. Again, the Sony Xperia.
Across the whole back of
the Sony Xperia has one. It has 900 of them. So yeah, that is definitely something that is a very special look or feature set if you do end up actually purchasing this phone.
This phone, around the dual cameras, around the wireless charging pad in the middle, and then some stripes up into the corner, and then down by the charging port at the bottom. And they do a great job frosting over them. So the glow really cleanly appears as just a solid, continuous light bar. So they call it the glyph interface.
And I probably should have paused it while that other thing or that other image was still on the screen. But that's not a subtle glow. I mean, I don't. We'll find out, but I don't recall you being able to maybe adjust the brightness of those things. Like I'm looking at my Xperia right now, and it's flashing blue, but it's flashes every couple seconds. It's pretty subtle. That's what I want. That's a freaking nightlight, And in fact, later on, he'll show that I think nothing is expecting you to kind of use that like as a what is it, like a light ring or something, like when you're taking pictures or something. So as opposed to using a flash, you can use the back of your phone that lights up almost entirely. So that's a bit much for me. Like, yeah, it can look cool, but I'd almost say, well, what exactly are you trying to achieve by not just having the notification LEDs, but by having so many of them? Like this pattern that has been produced, what exactly was the point of it?
And it has a bunch of real functionality. So first of all, it does light up and pulse for your notifications. It will also light up and glow when you're wireless charging or reverse wireless charging, which is neat. But there's also a feature where when you plug into USB-C to charge, it lights up that bottom bar and then acts as a progress bar.
So that's pretty cool. The wireless charging thing, okay. Well, reverse wireless charging, whatever. The notifications when you get something and everything flashes, yeah, that's a bit much. But then, yeah, I mean, it's cool tech just to be able to plug it in and the LEDs right there just light up to show you the percentage of the charge. Is it easy, just as easy to turn your phone over and tap the screen to wake it up, or if it's what is it called, wake on rays? If you just pick it up and it just lights up anyway, is that just as easy to do? I'd assume so. I could just let him go, but what he's going to show is that those lights do go off because you don't want them on all the time. And in order to get them to light back up, you just shake the phone. And it's like, well, once you've touched the phone, I feel like it's just as easy to just pick it up and, look at it. Because then also it's like, well, in order for this to work or for it to be functional, the phone has to be screened down, which if that's what you want, cool. But if you have the notifications and in order to interact with what is now being sent to you or what you're receiving, you have to turn the phone over anyway. It seems like, well, if you plan on interacting with the phone regularly, you will just keep the phone at that point screen up, which then will prevent you from even seeing any of these LEDs. Hence why with the Sony phone or the Sony Xperias, having a single notification LED on the front of the phone, in my opinion, isn't an enthusiast feature. It's more of a practical design.
And of course, you wouldn't want that to stay lit up all the time, so it turns off. But anytime you want to check on it, all you got to do is just wiggle the phone a little bit, and it lights up again so you can see how far you've gotten. That is dope. The entire glyph interface can light up at once as a fill light for the cameras.
And again, like not to harp on the point, because at the end of the day, if you want the phone, you're going to get it. And I'm always a huge fan of technological progress. Is that true progress? I honestly don't know. I mean, however they write the software in there to interact with the LEDs, it's probably pretty simple for people who are able to do stuff at this level. But again, if the phone is face down, yes, you're able to see the LEDs light up for whatever reason that they are. You then have to turn the phone over to then interact with the phone. Once you're done interacting with the phone, are you going to turn it back face down? I get maybe if you're on a date or something, maybe you'd want it face down. But for as bright as these lights are, that's still, in fact, that's probably more distracting than having it face up. And depending on if you have like the always on display or whatever, you might just get a subtle notification on the screen without the entire screen lighting up. So that might even be better if you're trying to, I guess, minimize the distraction that comes along with being notified that you have notifications waiting. With the Samsung Galaxy, and I know other phones do it. I'm just speaking on what I use. When I plug it in, the one of the settings is just to have the battery information or the charging information remain on the screen while it's charging. So the majority of the screen is off, and just down at the bottom you have the charging information. Also, the screen is now face up, so I'm able to see if something comes through to the phone. So having all this, I want to call it information, but these notifications on the back of the phone is nice, but how practical is it if in order to then interact with the phone, you have to turn it over? And then, of course, the question is, well, once you finish interacting, are you always going to turn it back over to see to be able to see the LEDs as opposed to just seeing the screen itself?
These are pretty bright LEDs. Normally, some lights on the back of a phone I wouldn't say make much of a difference, but for some sort of close up subjects or in darker rooms, this can actually make a difference versus the normal flash that's also on the back of the phone.
So yeah, what I would have liked him to shown is how bright is this in a dark room. I think that really would help me see what's going on, help the viewers see what's going on. Because yeah, in a heavily or brightly lit room such as he's in right now, it might not look like too much. But again, if you have 900 LEDs lighting up whenever you get a notification in a dark room or even in just a moderately lit room, that's going to become a distraction. So if it does become distractions, are people just going to turn this off now?
Plus, there is a blinking red light on the back here, which is a recording indicator for when you're recording videos. And then, Nothing has built an entire user interface into the settings that let you control exactly how the lights work when they turn on and what they light up for. So, the most impressive part, to me, for sure, is there are 10 built in ringtones. And you might not use ringtones that much, but these are cool. They each have a light pattern that lights up to perfectly match the ringtone. And so then you can pair ringtones with certain contacts. So when you see a certain light pattern, even when the phone is muted, you know who's calling you just by looking at it. And on launch, you'll be able to have different light patterns for notifications from different apps too. I imagine they can add more stuff like this through software updates.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will. Um, but yeah, it's cool. It is. I will never want to say, oh, the technology isn't cool. It is nice, but the practicality behind it. So one, if the phone's in your pocket, all right, well, none of that even matters. Two, if the phone is face up, none of that matters. Um, he's going to mention later cases. So are case manufacturers going to cut out holes for the LEDs? That would make the most sense. Of course, a clear case option would be probably optimal and most easy to do. But if that's the case, is that going to be the only case? I keep using the word case. Is that going to be the only case option? A clear uh, rubber, silicone, polycarbonate, whatever the material is. Otherwise, it's like, well, you're either going to have all those precision cuts in there, which I'm sure it's easy to do with the right machinery, or you're going to have a case that covers all that, which then renders all of it useless. So, yeah, the nice technology, but what is the practicality behind it?
Over time, but that is a really interesting, actually new feature in a smartphone. We don't see that very often, so that's pretty cool. Now, whether it'll be enough to actually get people to buy the phone, or whether it impresses people who would usually put a case on their phone anyway, that we'll have to wait until launch to see. But I think it looks pretty sick. Honestly, it looks like a movie prop in my hand in certain environments. Plus, I'm sure there's a clear case coming from nothing. I think now that there's like renders floating out there, the most common description I've seen of the look of this phone is like, oh, it just looks like an iPhone 12 with a transparent back. Which, sure, with the dual cameras and the general shape, you could reduce it to that if you want to. But also, that's pretty cool, actually. But actually, for what it's worth, a clear-backed iPhone 12 would look like this, which is a little bit different. So, love it or hate it, Nothing's phone looks kind of different. So no matter what happens with the rest of the phone, mission accomplished there. I guess the question we're left with at this point is, does this work? Like, is this different enough looking to actually work? Are people going to buy it? Are they going to want to actually switch to this slightly different looking phone?
And that's a good question. I mean, of course, he doesn't have answers, but I'll let him continue talking in a few moments. But yeah, my guess would be you'll have some enthusiast, which he's not using that word in this particular video. But yeah, there were probably some OnePlus people who were like, "Oh man, I really like it," and blah 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 blah. And Carl Pei is now gone, and he started his own company. So I'm going to jump ship from whatever other Android device, whether it's a OnePlus or something else, to reunite with Carl Pei to support him that particular way. And what he's also going to say, he's going to talk about how in fact, I'll just let him. I'll just let him talk. But yeah, my answer to that question, no, it's to get people to switch the software experience in addition to this subtle, almost pointless but cool technology, hardware changes. The software experience needs to be something way better to pull you from Samsung. If you're jumping ship from Apple, that's a huge jump. But from Samsung, the software experience needs to be that much better. And one of the issues that most Android manufacturers face, of course, is longevity of support. So if Google is now just agreeing to do, I think, 5 years of security updates and however many operating system updates, and I think Samsung is committed to like 4 years of both, or either whatever it is, for a new company, are they able to make that type of commitment up front? Don't know, but that would be something, at least for me, that would be required for me to want to leave the current ecosystem or just phone in general that I'm using. Also, the price. I don't think he's mentioned how much this thing is actually going to cost. Um, but yeah, the price is going to be extremely important.
Over this safe bet. And I guess the answer really is it's a real strategy. Like, look at these three phones. There's a Naruto phone, a League of Legends phone, a Dragon Ball Z phone, all super unique, deep collaborations with custom packaging, custom designs, wallpapers, icon packs, the whole thing. They go the extra mile. So this strategy of standing out with a cool features or sweet design is very intentionally to steal away a small amount of the most loyal customers. It's literally a customer acquisition cost. And maybe if the first run is successful enough, then they can make a slightly more broadly appealing, slightly better phone overall that sells more. And if that one works, then they can make an even more broadly appealing phone that sells even more. And then even more broadly appealing, and even more, until you've made a very broadly appealing phone that sells the most, but that feels like it abandoned your original fan base.
And I'm certain he's probably referring to OnePlus's strategy, but at the end of the day, the whole point of these companies is to make money. And we can look at what three companies right now. Of course, Apple is going to do what Apple wants to do. They are, saying, "Hey, this is what we're going to make, and you are going to buy it," and that happens. We all complained about the notch, and that is what it is now. I remember when we went from the 30-pin port to the Lightning, and we complained because we had to change. But at the same time, when going from mini USB to micro USB wasn't an issue. And in fact, I was happy to go from micro USB to USB C. So Apple was just like, yeah, we're going to do what we're going to do. Took away the headphone jack. So, they're going to do what they want to do when it comes to that. And I'd started reading, I should probably finish, but I started reading Samsung Rising, and I fairly certain it's about how Samsung has done what it needs to do to gain its dominance in the smartphone industry. But yeah, one of the quotes from somebody in the book was just essentially talking about how we are doing whatever we can to appeal to as many people as possible. And whether it's through one device or it's through a whole library of devices, which is in Samsung's case, that's how you end up selling phones. And for the the notion of trying to appeal to the most number of people, like, yeah, you have to do that. You also have to do something to get them to continue buying phones. So even though I was just talking about longevity of support, if I buy a if I buy a nothing phone and I'm okay upgrading every 2 years, and they offer support for 2 or 3 years, that might be fine. But at the end of the day, they've supported the phone for more than one operating system upgrade. And then I will be a repeat customer. So therefore, I will be able to give them more money. Samsung's goal is to make you or get you to buy new phones. Apple's goal is a little different. I mean, yeah, of course, they want you to buy the latest and greatest. However, they know they can make money from you just as long as you have an iPhone. So even if you aren't giving them money through hardware acquisitions, through services and other companion devices that, yeah, would be hardware, but not the iPhone specifically, then yeah, they win either way. One company that I wanted to mention that is kind of relevant, I feel, to this core thing is Google and what they've done with Android. But if you go back to the Nexus days, which I'm not going to pretend that I've been getting or paying attention to Nexus this entire time, but the Nexus 5, so clearly, 1 through 4, however it was labeled, I wasn't paying too much attention to. But the Nexus 5, I remember I had one of those, and I was really impressed with that phone. And the core concept of the Nexus was here's Android naked, kind of, with some hardware, a kind of a collaboration type deal. And it kind of morphed from several years of Nexus into what the Pixel is. And of course, Google wants you to buy more phones. They want you to buy a new phone every year. I'm sure that they'd be happy with that. Which is probably one of the reasons that they probably haven't been too keen on providing support for as long as they could, because at the end of the day, Apple's strategy is one thing, and yeah, they just want you to have an iPhone, where literally all the other Android manufacturers aren't able to make money the exact same way. So yes, and really it doesn't matter, because since we're all using Google for search anyway, Google's still getting money from us one way or the other. But it doesn't matter if you have a Pixel or a Samsung or a OnePlus or what is this, a Nothing, a Sony. So they're just like, hey, if you're just in the Android ecosystem, you're good to go. So what's the whole point of me just rambling right here? Is Nothing going to end up being just like all the other companies, where their goal is just to sell you a phone as frequently as possible? If they stick around long enough, absolutely. And they talk about ecosystems, but it's still just more of we need to sell you another phone or another watch if they come out with a watch, or more earbuds or something, versus, hey, you've bought the hardware. You might not buy any more hardware from us for the next 4 or 5 years, but you will buy other digital goods that will still give us money. And outside of search, specifically for Google, and I think some of the hardware vendors get kickbacks for certain things as well. So I'm not going to pretend to know all that stuff. But their primary purpose is to sell you phones. So are they going to end up trying to appeal to the most number of people? Absolutely.
Sound familiar? Either way, this phone is definitely super different. I think the lights are pretty cool, but we'll have to see how it goes. Something to keep an eye on. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.